Hello and welcome to another edition of RHOX Garage. I'm your host Kevin. On this episode, we're going to show you how to install a steel utility box, part number BOX-012, on this 2011 Club Car DS. Now before we get started, let's take a look at what's included with your utility box, as well as all the tools necessary to perform the installation. Now here's a look at what's included with the BOX-012 utility box kit. Now first we'll have two utility box frames, two vertical support brackets, all necessary mounting hardware, as well as a latch kit so that you can secure the tailgate of your utility box. Now this is our utility box, which can be purchased as part of a utility box kit or can be sold separately. Now it also features a fold down tailgate, which will also come with a latch kit that can be installed, which we will do later on in the process, which will keep the tailgate in the up and secured position. Now our utility box does come in three different styles: the steel box that you see here, as well as an aluminum and a poly plastic type. Now that we've discussed a little bit more in depth about our utility boxes, let's take a look at the tools necessary to perform the installation. Now here's a look at the tools that we'll be using to perform our installation. First we have a Phillips head screwdriver, 7/16 and 9/16 wrench, a 10mm and 17mm wrench, a ratchet, 7/16 and 1/2 inch sockets, as well as 8mm, 10mm, 13mm, and 17mm sockets, a smaller drill bit used for drilling pilot hole, a 5/16 drill bit, which will be the final size for our hardware, a cordless drill, and a cordless impact. Now that we've shown you all the tools that we will be using, we're ready to begin our installation. Now our first step is going to be to remove our factory sweater basket. Now the first thing we need to do to accomplish this is to remove the 4 bolts securing our seat back to the factory sweater basket. Once removed, we're going to want to retain the seat back as well as the factory mounting hardware. Next, we need to remove the hardware that secures our rear struts to the factory sweater basket. Once removed, we can discard this hardware as it will not be reused. Now we also need to use a broomstick or some similar type of device in order to keep our top propped up so that it doesn't sag down once the struts have been detached from the sweater basket. The next step is to remove all of the hardware securing the sweater basket to the cart. Now first we want to remove the 2 carriage bolts located towards the rear of the cart, and in order to remove these bolts, we must first remove the access panel. Now that we have the 2 carriage bolts removed, we next want to remove the 4 bolts located directly behind the seat bottom. Once these bolts have been removed, we want to retain these bolts as they will be reused later in the process. We can, however, discard the 2 carriage bolts as well as the sweater basket assembly. Now that we have our sweater basket assembly removed, the next thing we want to do is to install our utility box support frames. Now keep in mind that there is going to be a difference between the utility box support frames, as there is one for the driver and passenger side, so please be aware when installing them that you install them on the correct side. Now in order to tell the difference, you're going to want the flat side facing towards the outside of the cart. So currently in my hand, I have the passenger side utility box support frame. Now in order to install our utility box support frame, these 2 holes are going to line up with the 2 holes located just behind the seat bottom, and they will be secured in place using the hardware that we removed earlier in the process. Now this hole here will go where the 2 carriage bolt holes were located on the cart. However, this will be secured with hardware that is provided, and it will also require the use of fender washers. Be sure that you use the fender washers and not just the regular flat washers that are included. Now that we have one of our utility box support frames installed, we want to go over to the other side and repeat the process. Now be sure that during this time, you leave all of your hardware hand tight only. Now our next step is to install our vertical support brackets. Now in order to do this, we must first remove the outermost bolt from our rear bumper. We're then going to take the vertical support bracket, making sure the feet at the bottom are facing towards the outside of the cart, and that the spacer that is on the upper portion of the vertical support bracket is on the outside of our utility box support frame. Now that we have the vertical support bracket attached to the bumper using the original hardware, next we want to attach the vertical support bracket to our utility box support frame using the 10mm bolt, flat washer, and lock nuts that are included in the utility box hardware kit. Again, be sure to only hand tighten your hardware at this time. Now you can move over to the other side and install the other vertical support bracket in the same fashion. Now that we have all of our brackets in place, our next step is to reinstall the seat back. Now in order to properly do this, we're going to reuse the factory hardware that we removed earlier in the process. Now before we attach our rear struts to the utility box support frame, we first want to remove the broom handle that we have supporting our top. Once we've done this, we can then attach the struts using the hardware provided with our utility box hardware kit. Now our next step is to go through and tighten all of the hardware that we left loose throughout the duration of the installation process. Once all hardware has been tight, we want to go ahead and reinstall the access panel using the original hardware that we removed earlier in the process. Now at this time, we need to place our utility box onto the frame so that we can mark the holes on the utility box that need to be drilled. Now when you place the box on the frame, you want to make sure that the tailgate is towards the rear of the cart, and you also want to center the box as best as you can. Once you have the utility box in the desired location, you want to go underneath the cart and locate the 4 holes in the utility box support frame, and then using a marking device, mark the locations to be drilled. Once you've done that, you then need to take the box and either place it on the ground on a piece of cardboard, or what I like to do, using the utility box support frame, place the box on top of that, again on a piece of cardboard. Now once all mounting holes have been marked, the next thing you want to do is to grab a smaller drill bit so that you can drill some pilot holes, eventually working your way up to the final hole, which is going to be a 5/16 drill bit. And once you have all mounting holes drilled out to the proper size, you want to grab your mounting hardware and check each of the holes to verify that your hardware passes through cleanly. If it doesn't, be sure to grab a file and file out any of the burrs left behind from drilling out the holes. Once you've verified that your hardware will pass through the mounting holes cleanly, you can then place your utility box on the utility box support frames, align them with the mounting holes, and install the included hardware. Now our next step is going to be to tighten the hardware that we just installed that secures our utility box to the utility box support frame. Now up next, we're going to install our latch kit onto our utility box. Now to start, we're going to take the latch catch and install that on the tailgate. Now we'll secure the latch catch in place using the provided hardware. Next, we're going to install the latch and latch bracket onto the utility box. Now first, we need to attach the latch bracket to the latch itself. You want to make sure that the latch has the bend in the up position, and then you're going to place the latch bracket over the groove towards the rear of the latch. Once you have that assembled, you're going to place the latch bracket over the 2 holes located towards the rear of the utility box, and then you'll secure it in place using the hardware provided. Once you have the latch and latch bracket in place, you want to move over to the other side and repeat these steps to attach your other latch, latch bracket, and latch catch. After you have your latches installed, the last thing that you want to do is to go back through and verify that you've tightened down all of your hardware. Once you've done that, that'll complete the installation of our steel utility box, part number BOX-012, on this 2011 Club Car DS. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.